entrepreneur or social investors. You are deep-pocketed individuals that have money burning a hole in your pocket, and you want to use it to do good, not necessarily make the best returns, but to have the best or greatest social impact.
All right, we're rolling.
So by the time we all go home tonight, 3 or 4 children are going to lose an arm, a leg, or potentially die over a problem that was created 30 to 40 years ago. It's a problem that we've all heard of, but the media doesn't give it a lot of attention. There aren't too many organizations advocating on its behalf. And this problem I'm speaking of is landmines. In Cambodia, there are estimated to be 4 to 6 million unexploded landmines in an area the size of roughly equivalent to the state of New York. And on average, per month, 2,000 people have a life-changing accident or a life-ending accident. And of those 2,000 people, 1/3 of them are children. So I'm here today to talk about 3 main things. The first one is the current efforts of landmine detection and eradication. The second is the Cornell MIT Minesweeper Initiative. And third, how you can get involved. So the current organizations in Cambodia that are tackling this effort. The first one is the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces. Their primary method is to go into uncharted territories in Cambodia, which are primarily the rural areas, and take large bulldozers and literally plow up and down large fields. So you guys are smart, you can imagine that this is a very slow process, and it's a very expensive process based on the equipment required. And it's not particularly efficient or smart, right? They literally go into a large acre or so, and they plow via a grid, 100% of the area. The second organization is the Cambodian Mine Action Center, and they take a different philosophy. They incorporate local volunteers to manually go into uncharted territories with a metal detector if they have the resources, and if not, literally with a physical stick to poke the ground to find chunks of metal, which is a landmine. I don't have to explain the risks to you with that method. So the Cornell MIT Minesweeper Initiative tries to incorporate the best of both worlds. It aims to develop a low-cost, autonomous, all-terrain robot capable of landmine detection. It's primarily started by myself and a fellow Cornell engineer who is from Cambodia, has personal ties with the government and the country as a whole. And we aim to start and design a robot capable of getting this done. And the way we're going to do it is by employing cheap materials and simple metal detectors. And the vision is for a local volunteer to deploy this robot into an area that he is not confident in, keep himself away from any sort of danger, and have this robot go and find metal. And as soon as it finds metal, it deploys the GPS coordinates to a central database. And if it happens to find a landmine and it ignites, it's okay, because it's just a robot. The citizens are far away from this area. And the citizens now deploy a second robot, and everything is safe. And taking this data, the GPS coordinates, we want to give these coordinates to the armed forces that can now take their bulldozers and use these expensive resources in a much more efficient manner. So why you guys are here today, I'm asking for a funding of $100,000 to get this project started. I would like you guys to be involved to get this initiative going, and you guys can visit the Cornell MIT Minesweeper website to invest and kick this project off. Thank you.
Questions?
questions?
Oh, sorry, questions?
So it sounds like a really great project. I'm just wondering if you can give me more detail on what's the current status of the project, where you are.
The CAD designs are done and the first prototype is done. We need to scale. And in terms of manufacturing and equipment, a lot of the more expensive equipment in terms of the radars to navigate an all-terrain terrain is donated by sponsors. So some of this sensor equipment we would need money to buy in bulk.
Does this work on all types of mines, or is it a specific kind that may not be applicable in others?
These landmines were primarily placed in the 1970s, and they are primarily ferrous metal landmines. So simple $50 metal detectors will work. There is a false positive rate, but that's okay. I'm willing to tell you to go dig a hole to find a chunk of metal that happens to not be a landmine. I'd rather have a false positive than a false negative. Yes, Peter.
So great presentation. I'm almost ready to give you $100,000 for 25% equity, but I've got one question. What's going to be your distribution channel?
So my partner has family ties to the Cambodian government, which obviously has strong ties with the Cambodian armed forces. And so they are going to be almost our distribution channel. They have access to the citizens, to the rural areas to deploy these robots.
Great. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right.
Well, you had me at the landmines. I was like, oh yeah, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to listen to this.
It's scary.
Unbelievable, and the statistics and the whole bit. But anyway, other people.
So I'll go. I really thought it was great, and I really liked the way you connected with eye contact as well. It's something I personally struggle with, and I think you did a great job of kind of focusing in and like speaking to me directly before you moved on. Overall, I thought it was a very strong presentation. One of the things I would have liked to see at the end is a stronger conclusion. I felt like it closed pretty briefly, and I think that's a fairly easy fix. Sure.
So I have a tiny tweak, which was the same tweak I was going to mention to Vita. So now I can't resist. There's a thing called upspeak, and upspeak is when your voice goes up when you're not asking a question.
Yeah.
And both of you do it not enough to be annoying, not enough for it to be a distraction, not enough, but it takes like 1% of your credibility away. So you just want to be aware of that. And I noticed you doing it. You'll say, we have ties to the government.
Sure. Okay, I see what you're saying.
That's just a little bit, just a slight bit. Anyway, listen to it. And if you can eliminate that entirely, or it's more forceful, and usually the women need this, but you have a strong voice. But some women whose voices are like this, if you can end on a down note, close the door. Close the door. Close the door. Close the door. That means, should we close the door? Do you want me to close the door? What do you think about the door? That's a question in the U.S.
Sure, it's almost a dig to the confidence level, right?
Yeah.
You kind of have the uptick in intonation, right? Yeah.
So it's a subtle little thing of I'm not sure, or I'm not sure that you are sure.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give you that room for doubt.
Thank you.
Tiny little bit. Listen for it.
I like that you create a lot of suspense with your voice in general. I thought there was a very sort of like, you sort of had like a volume, you sort of used the volume of your voice to actually create that kind of suspense, which I thought was very clever.
What do you mean by suspense?
It's just like, there is a real problem. 3 or 4 people are going to die before the end of the day. And that problem is landmines.
Yes.
Okay.
That was a really
Just
good,
like, it was
That
just
was a
like,
great
good
slide.
replay.
it was
Yeah.
just like,
That's
oh, it's
exactly.
landmines. Like, wow, I didn't, like, we were waiting, like, what is this thing? And then, like, it's landmines. And it was also the way it complemented your volume of your voice. That's what I mean.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning I was.
Yeah, very good.
Good job.